Hi folks, let's talk about georeferencing a map or image in ArcGIS Online. Joseph Kursky here with you, happy to be sharing these exciting new capabilities in ArcGIS Online from Esri. It's not really called georegistration, I must point out, because it's not sub-centimeter accuracy. If you want to use georegistered maps to overlay pipelines, power lines, you're doing some parcel editing, you're looking at changes over space and time in a cemetery or some place that is a large scale, very small area, then this is not the tool for you. This is more on the city or neighborhood or even regional scale. So it's really not georegistering per se. If you need high accuracy and high precision, you need to use the ArcGIS Pro georegistration tools. Here, we're going to pin unregistered maps or historical aerials or some sketch to a known base map in ArcGIS Online. So it's really not georegistration per se, but that's what we call it inside a GIS. So I'm going to stick with those terms, but know that there are different tools for different levels of precision required. Okay, let's get started. I think it would be helpful to show you what the end goal is. The end goal is to georegister a historical map or aerial photo or sketch on a known coordinate system. In this case, one of the greatest places in the world, my hometown, Grand Junction, Colorado, a 1950 parcel and street map. We're going to overlay it on top of ArcGIS Online's base map. So how do we do that? That's the end goal, and so let's start. I know that the unregistered map, in my case, is largely parcels and streets. So I want to change the base map that I'm going to register it to a OpenStreetMap base. That would be the best one. Your desired base map might be different depending on your needs. I'm going to browse my device for that unregistered 1950 census enumeration map, and you can see it plops it where I had my map extent in ArcGIS Online. I could float this around and put it anywhere. It's not the right size. It's in the somewhat of the right position on the planet, but it's not the right size. So you can see here that I can change the size. I can also rotate it. Let's say your unregistered map or aerial or sketch is not where north is at the top. That's perfectly fine. You've got a little rotation tool. Again, you've got a lot more power in ArcGIS Pro, but for quick and easy, again, small scale, regional, city, etc., not super detailed, georegistration, you've got this at your fingertips. Now I can see that my railroad is going to be a very good reference for me. I also want to look at the extent of the map, and so using these transparency tools, I can float between the base map and the unregistered, at this point, still unregistered, map that I want to register to a known base. So I'm going to shrink this down. In other words, change the scale of the unregistered map. I'm going to float that railroad over that base map there, and I can see that the northernmost point is F Road or Patterson. So I'm going to make some adjustments here, and you can see this is an iterative process. In ArcGIS Pro, you're actually minimizing the root mean square error, so you've got, again, a lot more flexibility and capability at your fingertips. But here, I'm going to adjust the transparency so that I'm looking at the base image, and I'm taking a look at 5th Street here, which crosses the railroad tracks and actually crosses the Colorado River, and seeing that that's the same position in both the base map and my as yet unregistered parcel map. So my parcel map is now at a different scale, and I'm also looking at 7th Street here. It goes up that hill, and there's a noticeable jog in 7th Street as it goes up toward Patterson. So for your application, take a look at, it could be a river junction, it could be a railroad tracks, it could be some sort of parcel that has a definite field boundary, whatever it is, a hilltop, something that you've got, ideally several of those things, where you can see what it is on your unregistered map or image and what it is, the same position as it is on the base map, so that you want to be able to use those as visual clues, visual reference points. So now I'm getting closer to my end goal. I can now slide the whole thing around if I want to, and by looking at each corner, the northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest, I'm going to massage what we used to call rubber sheeting in the old GIS days, the unregistered parcel map, in my case, to the registered base map. Why would I want to do that, you may ask? Well, that way I've got this in the same coordinate space so that I can overlay other information on top of it. It could be land cover change. It could be zoning. Zoning 1950 versus today. How's the city changed over space and time? Biomes, ecoregions, river systems, etc. So I can overlay other information once I've got this in the same coordinate space at the approximately, again, we're in ArcGIS Online, so we're going to say approximately the same scale. Now, there may be issues with your base image or aerial photo. It may have been at an oblique angle, created as a sketch at an oblique angle, in which case it's going to be very difficult for you to ever get it exactly or as close as possible. Some distortion may exist with the base image. It may have been on some sort of vellum and or paper, and it shrunk or stretched over time. So you're not going to ever get this, in some cases, even tens of meters away from the correct location as deemed by the satellite image or the base map that you're using, but you can get it close. And for your purpose, for education, for reference purposes, for some other non-surveyable, non-parcel, non-legal description purpose, you're going to be able to get this pretty close in most cases, again, knowing that there's lots of cases where you're not going to be able to get it close. So as you can see here, if I hadn't been talking so much, you could see that behind the scenes that I've been working away, my parcel map is looking pretty close. I'm going to do some spot checking at this point. Again, if I was in ArcGIS Pro, I could look at the root mean square error, the differences between the parcel map in this case and the base map. There's another issue that, of course, might happen with you as well, and that I've got new streets since 1950, of course, which did not exist on the 1950 base. So I've got to ignore those, but I'm seeing some streets that did exist, and also the railroad track and the river. And now I've got this. I like that. So I'm going to go ahead. I saved that base. Yep, let's go ahead and hit the save button on the left side there. And now I've got this saved. And the nice thing about 2024 and new enhancements in this tool is that if I save this layer now, I can look, it goes to a new item in ArcGIS Online in my content. That means that I can share that out, and you could use this layer now in your map, in your application. When this tool first came out in 2023, it was only a part of the map. We didn't have this capability of saving the layer now, the resulting layer. So I'm going to name it something that's descriptive, 1950 Grand Junction Map Layer Georectified. Again, realizing the caveats behind that rectification term. But now I've got it. If I share it with you, you can actually use it in your content. We've registered using Add Media Layer. Now it's there. I'm going to go ahead and rename it because I've got several different versions since I'm using this in educational context. I'm going to call this version 3 now. All right. Go ahead and compare to my previous versions if I'd like to do that. You can see it's not exactly the same in each case. Hopefully this is the best, most accurate version possible. Now, what we've just done is we've used the image overlay method, but I want to show you here very briefly that this is indeed a content item inside ArcGIS Online. So I'm going to sign in a different tab to ArcGIS Online, and I'm going to look at my content. My content, notice it's reverse sorting with the most recent date at the top. I've got a media layer, 1950 Grand Junction Map Layer Georectified. Right now it's not shared with anyone besides myself, so I'm going to go ahead and share that with everyone, and now you can actually find this in ArcGIS Online and use it yourself. Very nice to be able to share. That's the power of WebGIS in the modern era. Fascinating. Okay, and there's my documentation, my item description. If I was going to really use this in the future, I would give it a bit of metadata so that other people will be able to decide whether or not to use it for their purposes. We've used this unregistered parcel map, and here's the power now. And now that it's registered, I could add ecoregions. Oh, okay. I could float the registered map. Now I can see where it fits inside level 4 ecoregions of the continental U.S. I can see the Grand Mesa out there, I see the Colorado National Monument, the Book Cliffs, and I can see where that georegistered map sits. Very nice. I could also, of course, make the ecoregion semi-transparent so I could see some of the base map there. I'm not going to spend time doing that, but let's go ahead and ArcGIS Online. Let's go ahead and look for some hydro. Let's add some rivers. Ah, very nice. Got the Gunnison River, the Colorado River. I've even got those little dotted lines, which are the watershed boundaries. Fascinating. So that's the power. You've got overlay capabilities now. And you could also use this in other ways inside ArcGIS Online and create a web mapping application from it. Now, let's go ahead and add a media layer again. This time, I'm going to, again, get it from my own device. And this is the 1910 now, going back even farther in history, over 100 years ago. It's one of those high-resolution sandborne maps showing buildings and streets and parcels. Oh, these are fascinating, wonderful maps. I love what Sanborn has done for the last over 100 years now, 200 years. And they've got these very detailed, wonderful maps, great for looking at change over space and time, and also looking at occupancy and who occupied which building in the past. I know some geographers that are just fascinated by that, and I'm fascinated as well. Okay, this time though, last time we used the overlay method to register this. Let's go ahead and use the side-by-side method. And the side-by-side method, let's go ahead and first search in ArcGIS Online for Palisade, Colorado, and let's use the side-by-side method. Okay, so we could reposition the media over there. We could zoom to it, reposition the media. Okay, so now it's roughly in Palisade. I know this is a lot larger of a scale, so it's a lot more detailed. I'm going to, again, use the OpenStreetMap base. So it's going to cover a small area, just a couple of square blocks, as you saw in my thumbnail earlier. Okay, let's go ahead and make that, adjust the transparency. And so now we're going to use this side-by-side method, which is different from the overlay method. I just want to show you what this is, because your desired method may vary with each kind of map that you bring in. The overlay looked good. In this case, I think side-by-side is going to do very well, because this is a very straightforward kind of a map that has known intersections. At least 3 of them are. One of them is actually in the Colorado River. But all I have to do is position the points where the unregistered image, the 4 corners, actually fall on the registered base map. So the northwest corner, I've just put that at the intersection of Kluge and First. And now I'm going to put that second point right on where the railroad track crossed. Again, I'm looking very carefully at the image, the parcel map, the Sanborn map. I'm going to put this right there at 4th, where the river meets 4th, and then that southwest corner right there. So I'm liking that, so I can go ahead and, I don't want to reset, I want to update and close. Once I'm happy with the position there, the only disadvantage of the side-by-side is that you can't really test it before you update and close. You can always come back and edit it though, so it's not a big deal. You can see what that blue bar is, edit place media. I could go back in there and tweak it, and I'll do that again in a moment. Look at the transparency here, see how well we've done. I'm liking that pretty well, except that southern boundary there is not correct. Look, 4th Street on the 1910 map is a couple hundred feet, maybe a couple hundred meters, not quite that far, 50 meters north of where it should be. So I'm going to go back and edit this now. And it defaults to the overlay method, so we want to use side-by-side here again just to keep our methods consistent. And now I'm just going to drag that southwest corner a little bit south, because notice that it's actually south of 4th. Ditto for the southeast corner. It's actually sitting in the river. So let's go ahead and adjust that. That's looking good. Maybe make a little tweak here, because I can see a lot of First Street, so I'm going to move that northwest boundary, or the northwest corner, a little bit north. Okay, now let's take a look at transparency here. Ooh, I'm liking that a lot better already. Yeah, let's check all of our corners and our interior. Okay, lots has changed. We've got a Palisade Living Center occupying a lot of the old parcels. So again, the parcels, the buildings have changed. There's the Palisade Library. Hooray for public libraries. And I have some of the parcels are still there. Some of the old houses are still there even, but some of them have changed positions. And this is 114 years ago. Fascinating to look at change over space and time. And it's all enabled by using these georegistration tools inside ArcGIS Online. I'm going to tweak that just a little bit now and move that just a little bit north. And then I'm going to update and close. Yep. That looks excellent. Okay. Now, transparency. Take a look one more time. It's looking good there. All is going to be suitable for my, again, low resolution needs. Change over space and time analysis. Fascinating. Let's go ahead and save that, give it a suitable title and some metadata so that others can see it and use this as well. My original title here is no longer quite accurate. It's not just Grand Junction, it's also Palisade, so let's adjust that title. I like to make these map descriptions as long as possible without making them too clunky. Let's go ahead and save. Tell me why the save button is still a floppy disk. Do your students, do your colleagues even know what a floppy disk is? I'm going to update sharing. Now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to allow everyone to be able to use this now. So I've shared it with everyone. And there's my transparency. Let's do a couple things now that we have one map with 2 registered images in it, Palisade and Grand Junction. There's a lot of different ways to do this. We could create a mapping application with the 2 areas in the mapping application. I'm going to leave it in ArcGIS Online though, and I'm just going to add a bookmark for one thing, and then we'll do one additional thing before we close out this particular session. Bookmarks are very powerful in ArcGIS Online. I'm going to add a bookmark so that you can go to Grand Junction quickly by just clicking on Grand Junction for the bookmark. Then I'm going to zoom to my Palisade historical and current map, and I'm going to call that Palisade, Colorado, and add that bookmark. So I can switch back and forth, and I'm going to save that map because we've added those bookmarks. And what if a person wanted to know where both of these were? Now, I'm from this area, so I know where these are, but what if you're coming into this map and you're from another place around the world? So let's go ahead and add a bookmark and call that, how about the Grand Valley? It's the Grand Valley, Western Colorado. So let's go ahead and spell that correctly, Joseph, and let's call it the Grand Valley. Okay, so now I've got a bookmark called Grand Valley. I'm going to scoot that up to the top so that it'll be first. I've got Grand Valley, Grand Junction, and Palisade, just switching back and forth, and then I can zoom directly to those places. The second thing I promised that we do here is let's go ahead and add a little bit of sketch to the map. Sketches are, as the name implies, you're drawing on the map. I'm going to add a few things. I'm going to add some text to the map, and then I'm going to add a couple of place markers. Call that Grand Junction. Call that one Palisade. I've got a stray piece of text here. Let's go ahead and delete that to keep things tidy. Okay, I've got 2 pieces of text on my map. Let's do just 2 small things. Let's add sketch, add a place marker. You can change the symbols, of course. Let's add one for Grand Junction, one for Palisade. Last little piece, let's add some text. How about a big red 1 for Grand Junction and a big red 2 for Palisade? Make sure you don't have any strays, so go ahead and use the select button. We are done with that part. Okay, again, folks, add media layer. That's how you get those into ArcGIS Online. Wonderful capabilities. People have been asking for this for a long time, as we have on the ESRI education team, and it's just so exciting to have these capabilities in there now. Thanks for watching, and go ahead and do some georegistration. Remember, using Add Media Layer. Lots of power here. You can start looking at change over space and time with historical maps and aerial photos. Thanks.